podcast that's here to generate and share self-care ideas with each other. Last week was a show about what self-care can do for you. We went through the 3 levels of self-care, the once in a while, practicing self-care, and self-care as a default. And we also went through the top 10 things that self-care can do for you. And if you missed that show, spoiler alert, the number one thing that self-care can do for you is it dispels the I'm not good enough thoughts and patterns that you might be reinforcing. But for sure, check out all the other amazing things that self-care can do for you. That's episode 125. You can find the podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify, Spreaker, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Podbean, PodNation, and anywhere else you find your podcasts. I want to give you a quick preview of what to expect from today's show. So today, I want to go over giving yourself a little bit of grace. It's not something that we really think about when we're talking about self-care, but we got to get really creative right now on ways to take care of ourselves. It's not as easy or as safe to do like the traditional self-care stuff like a massage or a pedicure and things like that. So we got to go a little bit deeper. And today I'm going to give you some ways you can start giving yourself a little bit of grace this week. But first, a few quick housekeeping notes. I'm really digging this new podcast I found called Losing 100 with Corinne. She's from Fit and Fat, and she is the queen of the no BS weight loss system. She's super funny and cusses like a sailor, so I already love her to death. And her groupies, as we like to call ourselves, all drink a sip of water every time she cusses in her Facebook Lives that she does each week. And she's got a great program that gets to the heart of weight loss. And she talks a lot about self-care and being easy on yourself throughout that process. I just love her. Check her out on iTunes and everywhere else. It's called Losing 100 with Corinne Crabtree, or her website where she's got free videos and stuff like that. It's called PNP411.com. Even if you don't have 100 pounds to lose, this podcast will help you with so much more than your weight loss. Another quick share I have is a self-care product that I absolutely love. If you've listened to the show, you've heard me talk about it before. It is the vitamin C serum from Mad Hippie. You can find them on Amazon, but I really encourage you to shop directly off their website, www.madhippie.com. I have really super sensitive skin, and I only trust Mad Hippie with my skincare self-care. So check them out. They're local to Portland. And lastly, a big shout out to Jessamyn Stanley, the universally acclaimed yoga teacher from South Carolina, lighting it up with her amazing book, Everybody Yoga. She's got an app that you can find all of her yoga classes virtually. And there's this 8-minute yoga for self-care that you can check out on YouTube. It's really cool. It's easy, and it's just a great way to kickstart like an hour of self-care. So check her out. It's Jessamyn Stanley. She also has a website called The Underbelly. Great stuff there. Okay, so today I'm talking about giving ourselves a break. Giving ourselves like a little bit of grace or leeway. I got this great little reading I'm going to share with you about grace, and then I'm going to give you 10 different ways that you can actually give yourself some grace right now, today. So today's show is all about how you can work on self-forgiveness and learn to ease up a little. Let go just a bit of that perfectionistic idea that you have to do everything right every time, all the time. So we're going to go over all that. But if you are new to my show, I want to say hello and welcome. Thank you for checking us out. It's Self-Care is Sexy. I am your host, Chris Wood. We're here in Portland, Oregon. We've been going strong for a couple of years, just talking with folks about self-care, what works, what doesn't work, what happens when we don't get self-care, and of course, great different tips, tricks, and hacks on how to get the self-care you need. And if you are a longtime listener of our show, I want to send a huge shout out and thank you, a virtual hug, and hello, how are you? I have some great content coming up for you folks, and I hope that you'll stay tuned, subscribe, like it, share it, help me get the word out that self-care is sexy. Okay, so I want you to really hear me on this right now. I have something I really want to say. And if you don't listen to anything else I share today, please just hear this. That self-care is no longer an optional practice. It's no longer just for funsies. It has now become your absolute responsibility. You are responsible for you. So time to practice some self-care. No one else can take care of you right now. Not like you can. And now you have to. You have to take care of yourself. Right now, more than ever, you have to self-soothe like a motherfucker because of what's happening around us in this world. You have to get good at self-care, which is just a nicer way to say it's time to fucking manage yourself, okay? Enough feeling sorry for yourself about why you never get time to yourself, and time to start figuring out what it is you need to do for self-care. And at first, yeah, there's a lot of trial and error involved. But if we keep going, you get to the point where you're able to read your needs and then act accordingly and manage yourself and your mental health. You start working on you, start taking care of you. But if you're not good at it, it's not something you were taught, like everything else you learn, you're going to make mistakes as you go until you get it. And then you're going to make some more mistakes. And it's something to think about is just measuring your success by the amount of mistakes you can make. I can totally attest to this. When I started podcasting, I had absolutely no clue. I had never worked with this level of tech, and the terminology was like mind-blowing. And setting up a website and all the things, and I had to fail and fail and fail to get it right. And I still fail at stuff. And it's amazing. But right now, you're going to have to fall in love with failing, and you're going to have to fail faster at making self-care a default way of being. There is such an urgent need. So today I want to open up our show with a short reading about grace. It is from an angel card deck that I got. I'll have a link in the show notes. You can check it out. It's called the Universal Cards Angelically Inspired, created by Juliet Jaffrey Hubbs and Nora Monaco. And it's just a short reading under the word grace. So the definition says, appropriate dignity, a sense of what is right, goodwill, favor, fortunate condition, supply with heavenly honor, spiritual instruction. When you choose this card, know that the right and proper actions are occurring for a higher purpose. Divine order is in action, and what is happening is appropriate. Know that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Take positive action. Respect the dignity of others by allowing them the right to choose. You are divinely protected and temporarily exempt from harm. A good time to move through a situation. Divine intervention is at hand, gently guiding you into the right place at the right time. You've won the race. You hold the ace with the grace card. Often when you draw this card, it signifies your need to honor the dignity of others and not try to rescue them. Call on the angels or guides for spiritual help. Manifest various projects of divine origin at this most favorable time. Again, there's a link in the show notes to this book if you want to check it out. It's got a ton of different words and writings all about them. You draw a cool little card and read the little devotional. Super awesome. But the reason I want to start out with grace today is because I just don't think we give ourselves enough of it. You know, the book talks about, it says, grace is a sense of what is right. And how often do you defer to yourself and give yourself the benefit of the doubt that you are right and that what you're doing is right? It also says grace is supply with heavenly honor. How often do you actually apply heavenly honor to yourself? That is some radical self-care, because most of us are not good at taking care of ourselves emotionally. And that's the truth. If you're listening to my podcast about self-care, it's because self-care, taking care of yourself, it doesn't come naturally to you. And that's not because you're broken. You're not broken. Please say that in your head over and over and over and over again today. You are not broken. I am not broken. I am not broken. Say it over and over and over. You are learning about yourself. You are investing in yourself. And you are not broken. There's nothing to fix here. Nothing's wrong. I think that's the biggest problem that people have, is that they actually think that they have problems and that they have these things they have to solve about themselves. And you don't. Every time you have a perceived problem, something big that's looming overhead, for a lot of folks right now, it's losing their job. And if you react like, oh my God, this is a huge problem, why me? This is horrible. It's going to take you so much longer to solve that perceived problem than if you were to train your mindset to automatically come up against this new not having a job problem as like, how do we solve it? What can I do to change this situation? Where is the new path I need to take? Okay? So like, it's okay to be upset. It's okay to feel really shitty and lost right now, sure. But we have a real responsibility to change how we approach things right now. Because time is running out, folks. You can no longer worry about what others are thinking about you. You don't have the time. You get to decide right now. Are you going to rise up and become that warrior goddess you were meant to be? Or are you going to let COVID be the thing that takes you out? Are you going to let this pandemic, this challenge that we're all facing, are you going to let that win over you and your emotional well-being? The well-being that you've worked so hard to achieve, are you going to let this win? Or are you going to decide to face it and change and take exceptional care of yourself, giving zero shits what anyone else is doing? That's the starting line to radical self-care. But what if you're new to my podcast, okay, and you've not even achieved that baseline well-being? Well, so I'm going to give you 5 ways to help give yourself a little grace so that on your way to getting that well-being you deserve, I want you to give yourself permission to go easy on you. Now, I've had the pleasure of having a puppy several times in my life. We currently have one. She's so adorable, cutie little pie. Follow me on the socials if you want to check her out. Her name is Maddox. She's a little baby pit bull lab. And puppies take a lot of learning, right? It takes a lot of doing the same thing over and over and over for them to learn it, like going potty. Every time they go in the house, you have to take them out over and over again until they learn to whine and let you know they need to go out. But never in that process of the dog learning to go potty do we yell at the dog and make it feel like shit because it didn't learn the first time. The same damn thing is true for people too. When you try something or you're just learning something new you've never done before, at what point do you give yourself leeway for not being perfect at it? So what if I'm not the most productive right now? Or I'm easily distracted, or I'm feeling scattered and lost? We have to keep redirecting ourselves, refocusing ourselves. And how do we do that? How do we give ourselves a bit of grace? I got 10 ideas to help us. Number 1, don't treat yourself like the way others did. Now, this is such an important concept to self-care. If you've ever been in a toxic relationship, or maybe you grew up in a dysfunctional family of origin where you were treated like crap, well, you don't have to repeat that pattern. You have to take responsibility and teach others how to treat you. They will follow your lead. If you treat yourself like shit, other people will too. So don't treat yourself like shit the way you were treated maybe when you were younger or in the past. You have the power right now, in the moment, in today's actions and things that you say and conversations you have. Do not treat yourself the way other toxic people treated you. You don't deserve it. Number 2, allow the negative feelings. But don't live there, right? Set a time limit. When I first started going to therapy, I started out with 3 days. No shit, you guys. I gave myself 3 entire days to beat up on myself for a mistake. Think about that. And I had to work at getting better and better and better at going from, you suck, you're never going to do anything right, to, okay, well, we could have done better. What did we learn? True story. It took a lot of reworking over and over, training.